Hey everybody, welcome to Hook and Hunt TV Facebook Live, and this is third in the series of rod building, and hopefully you were here with us last week when you saw us do the guide placement. Tonight's going to be a pretty easy thing. I want to show you how just to put the epoxy on and how I start finishing the rod completely, and then we're going to be ready to fish it. Okay, so first of all, I want to show you after the thread wrap is done, and you guys saw this, and if my beautiful camera wife comes over here and shows you this, you can see I started a little bit putting some of the epoxy on here, and that is where the hook keeper is going to be. What I did tonight is, since this is the biggest guide here, this is the first in the microwave guides going up the wrap here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to put the epoxy on here. So here's what you got to know about the epoxy and the finish, okay? So here is the two things that you add together, and these are both made by Pro Coat, and it's a two-part. So you mix both of these in equal parts, and then how I do it, and this is going to come with time, okay? So you don't need very much, and I usually put 3 coats on, and I'm going to discuss with you and show you how we do that. And I'm hoping to get some people on here. Let's see if we have some people coming on here. Excuse me for a second. And what we do, if I don't answer you right away, please don't be offended by that, because we're trying to do this and do that at the same time. So if I don't answer you while we're doing this live, then I will answer you afterwards. And just so you know, as always, I want to get to this first before we get a little more into it, as this episode, again, is brought to you by Real Grips. So just by commenting tonight, one of you, as we do every week, is going to win this set of Real Grips. And for those of you who have won already, you know I also include some other goodies in the package when I mail it to you too, and hope you enjoy those. So, okay, now let's get into mixing this epoxy and what I have right here. So I put it in equal amounts, okay? And for the little bit I'm going to do tonight, it's about a dime size amount for either one, and this will come with time. You will learn. I'm just telling you, 2 bottles like this will last you a long time and a lot of rods, okay? So what I do is I put both of them in here, and then I have a mixing cup, and I have a stir, and I'm mixing this up. And usually how I do it, I like how that color comes out right there. It may look different to you. Some it may look clear, some it may look white. All I know is that's a consistency that works for me. So how do I get that? I mix it 100 to a count of 100 one way, and then to a count of 100 the other way, and mix it all up. And that consistency has worked with me. I'm sure there's a couple videos out there that Angler's Workshop can probably provide you guys, and some people have certain ways to do it. I just know that this is what works for me. And joining us, as always, I have to say, is my little assistant down here. Here's Moxie. And she's being, say hi, Moxie. Good. Still learning. She's going to be starting to drive next week. Anyway, so we are starting with that, and that's exactly what I want to do, is mix that in. Once the stir stick is done, then I'm getting rid of it, and then I'm going to take this brush. Now the next step, if you look through the magnifying glass here, you can see the wrap that we did, and we talked about keeping the guides tight, and or the line tight and everything, wrapping that on there. And this is the way that I want my machine bringing the guide toward me. It's easier for me to put the epoxy on that way. So for a while, when I first started doing this, I was putting the epoxy on just this way, and that worked. But for me, I've learned that if I do it horizontally, that it covers in that thread a lot better, and I get the finish I want. So I'm going to show that to you. So now I just take a little bit on the brush right there, and it looks like a lot, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. All right, as that's turning, I am going to start moving that epoxy around. Okay, so we're just going to start moving. If you notice, it gets through the threads really efficiently this way. Now I want to make sure that I get to the edge, and I'll show you how to get overspray or overusage on the threads to the blank. I'll get that off in a second. But first of all, I'm going to make sure that I get to the edges, and I want to make sure that I get that thread going this way. Okay, now that's coating it really good. I don't need any more right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start stretching that over and making it go the entire length of the thread. I figured out by doing it this way, for me, it really gets into the guides on that first layer really, really well. Okay, so what I'm doing now, and as it's turning, now that epoxy is getting through those threads, and you can see it's starting already to get that glassy finish that you see on well-finished rods. That's what you want, okay? So here, we're gonna do this a little bit more, and I'm gonna keep it going this way. Now I've got it pretty far this way. Now, so this is my first coat, okay, and I'm gonna do 3 coats, all right? Before I go any farther, I'm gonna tell you this. I do 3 coats, okay? And a lot of people have told me that, hey, you let it dry 8 hours, and that's fine, and then you can go on to your next coat. I check if it's tacky. A lot of times if I'm not sure, I'll just let it go a day. I'll let it spin for 24 hours. It's not gonna hurt anything. The drier it is, the better. Then I can come back and work on the finish even a little bit more. So 8 hours is great. If you wanna let it go a little bit more, if you've got something to do, don't worry about it. Just let it spin, okay, and let it dry. Because this first coat to me is one of the most important, okay? So now we're gonna go back and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do the other side. But first of all, if you look through the glass here, I have a little bit, just a little bit of overage on there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that isopropyl alcohol again, and I'm gonna spray some on my cloth. And then all I'm gonna do, I'm wait for that guide to go back around. And then I'm just gonna touch it up a little bit, okay? That's all I'm gonna do. Just like so, right? And that's okay, I got a little alcohol in a rod, that's no big deal. There, touch that up. Perfect, just like that. Now all I have on there is the alcohol. That's fine, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back the other way on this. I'm gonna get a little bit more on the brush here. And now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do to make sure the other sides of the thread are covered really well, okay? So I'm just gonna keep going back over that, and then we'll take off the overage of that as well, okay? I'm gonna put a little bit more on here. You can see it's already starting, I call it candying. It almost looks like a piece of candy right there, and that's what I want. That's a really smooth finish, and I really like the way that does it. So I'm gonna put a little more finish on there. Go back over here. That's Moxie with her approval. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate that, babe. Okay. Go back over a little bit more. Now remember, at this early stage, if you get a little bit more than you want, it's okay. No big deal. Okay? No big deal. All I'm going to do, I just want a little bit more here. Make sure that I got the edges good. Okay? There's that there. Now I'm going to spread it out a little bit more. All right. There we go. Getting good. Getting good right there. All right, now, this is a cool part of it now. So I'm going to finish that right there. Now I'm just going to wait a second. Now you can, hopefully you can see that, but you can see it already starting to settle in and get really clear on that first coat. That's looking really, really good. Now I have just a little bit of over on there that I just want to take off. So I'm going to spray some more of that alcohol on there. Excuse me. And then I'm going to take this, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it on a blank. And I'm going to get as close as I possibly can to that. Okay? There. Now that's looking good. Again, that overage there is just the alcohol in there. And I'll do that again on this part of it. Okay? The alcohol will dry off on there. And this is always a great way to get extra glue off if you catch it early enough, is you can spray this on there and take it off. But now all I'm going to do is I'm going to let that finish up just like that. And so I'm going to let that dry. So that'll be 8 hours. So what I do then is I usually start with the biggest guides. So I'll start down by the handle, down here, and then I'll work my way here. That's where I'm going to use the most amount of the finish, including the next guide here. After that, it's going to start decreasing quite a bit, obviously, because I have less surface area to cover. One of the reasons I use the magnifying glass like this is because I can really get close up. This is something you get on Amazon for like 15 or 16 bucks, and it runs on a couple AAA batteries. For me, it lets me be really, really precise on my thread wraps and see exactly what I want to do. It also saves me a bunch of time because I'm not squinting, and the older you get, guys, you know that. Ladies as well, sometimes our vision isn't as clear, so when you have that lighted magnifying glass that focuses right on that area, it's a lot easier for you to get a lot more precise in a lot less time. This is a really good investment to add, in my opinion, to your rod building. So what I'm going to do now is I'm basically just going to let that dry. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for the rest of the night. And tomorrow afternoon I'll probably come back down here and then I'll check. If it's not tacky, then I'll apply the second coat and then the third coat. What I want to show you is a rod that I just finished last week, which is the same action, different colored thread, but I want you to see how that finished up. And I understand it's not as good as some of the guys who've been doing it 20 or 30 years, but I will tell you this, largemouth, smallmouth, and walleye have no idea that I haven't been finishing rods for only a year and a half. This is now actually, this is going to be one of my favorite spinning rods. And this, just like this rod we did with the Comfort Arrow grips on here, guys, I'm telling you, guys and ladies, if you're building a spinning rod, really look to American Tackle for these Comfort Arrow grips. These are the most comfortable grips I've ever put on a spinning rod. With that finish back there and as comfortable that is on your hand, they're extremely sensitive, but they're very, very comfortable. And as always, a couple things I want to tell you. As always, if you like this video, like you do all of ours, I want to thank you all for sharing the video we did last week so much. That was one of the most watched videos we've had up to this point. And I'm hoping this really helps people get more interested in rod building. So please, if you like this video, please, please share it. And if you have, I thank you for doing so. You can easily find all the components. Everything that I talk about building rods are just about American Tackle made, with the exception of a couple with wind grips and some other stuff. But you can find all of that at Angler's Workshop by just going to anglersworkshop.com. One of the reasons I use American Tackle components, they actually supply a lot of the components to a lot of the rods that are built by different manufacturers and really do a great job of supporting the tackle industry. And I love American Tackle. I love the people that work there. They're all anglers that really put a lot of time into what they develop. And these are all things that I use and that I highly recommend. So 2 places, if you're interested in rod building, and I hope you are after watching this series of 3, is go to American Tackle and check out what they have. And then you can purchase a lot of that stuff from Angler's Workshop by going to anglersworkshop.com. And if you want to go to American Tackle, it's easy. That's just americantackle.us. And you can find all the components and stuff that I use to construct all these rods. The blanks, again, for this series that I've been using are the Bushido blanks. This blank for this rod that I built was a 7.2 medium light. Fantastic walleye, smallmouth rod, also great for throwing like a Ned rig for largemouth, things like that. It's a really good multi-species blank for a spinning rod, and I think just about anybody who builds anything on this will truly, truly enjoy this rod. Okay, so if you like all this, like I said, please feel free to go ahead and share this. This is really all there is, folks, to building a rod. So what else does it take? I'll be honest with you. It takes practice. And I remember talking to Don Morris at American Tackle, and I said, you know, I want my finish to get like yours. And he said, build 1,000 rods, Crowley, and eventually you'll get to that point. Everything that we get good at, we need to practice at, and you will get better with it. Again, if you ever have any questions, please feel free to email me at jim@hookandhunttv.com. You can also talk with the people at Angler's Workshop. They always have somebody on the phone line there, as well as American Tackle, and they'd be happy to answer your questions. But if you, again, this is the finished rod. This is what it's like. This is one of the rods you will see on Hook and Hunt TV next year, especially when we're doing some smallmouth and some walleye shows. I can't wait to fish this rod. This is probably the best spinning rod I've built to date. That's why I built 2 of them. Hope you guys really liked this and liked everything. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to email me at jim@hookandhunttv.com. And if you want to see more on this series, okay, remember, one other thing to tell you, again, if you comment on this, one of you, like we do every week, is going to win something from Real Grips. Just so you know, this whole complete series of 3 will eventually be on the Pride Outdoor Network. So if you have Amazon or Roku, You can get on the Pride Outdoor Network, and eventually all 3 of these series, you can watch them as many times as you want, whatever. They're also going to be on our YouTube page, but you can put them together, and hopefully, these will help you in constructing and building your first rod. Probably next season, we're probably going to do one on doing a bait cast rod again, but I wanted to start out with the spinning rod just to show you how much fun and how cool you can make it. Remember, building your rods, you can make anything you want, any way you want. I did it. So can you. Thank you so much for joining us again this weekend, or this week. I hope you really enjoyed it and hope you got something from it. God bless you. I'm Jim Crowley. We'll talk with you soon.